BoloXology. Hiya! Here we are, 5 Alive in the Hive with episode 5, and there's 5 of us all around the table with the BoloXology. Welcome to BoloXology, the podcast where we dive deep into the digital undercurrents shaping our world. Here we unpack the complex interplay of technology, rhetoric, culture, exploring how our online interactions are not just changing communication, but also our very understanding of reality. Each episode, we sift through the digital noise to find the signal, questioning the authenticity of information, dissecting the digital trends, pondering the philosophical implications of our tech-saturated lives, understanding everything that we can to form a landscape better, to just hear some thought-provoking discussion. So you're in the right place. So just sit back, plug in, and let's explore the wonders, follies of BoloXology together. In a sense, everybody is balding. Just consider that for a moment, and you will relax. Please now, we're just getting nostalgic already about the hot tour girl. Consider that too. I won't introduce everybody, as I never do, because everybody is always more interested in themselves than I am interested in them, just as I am interested more in myself than they are interested in me. Being comedians, we're a section of society who are narcissistic to the extreme, and so therefore I'll just go around with their first names and the subjects that they are looking at today. First we have Andy, then we have Luke, Nico, GURPS and Paul, Ian Jury, Annabella Chong, etc., which we'll find out about. Memories and fond memories, in fact, of Iran. and we have in as a late contender for his subject.
So it's Elon Musk and grooming gang. That's a bigger problem than the grooming gangs themselves. Somehow, you make it make sense.
It'll make sense when it comes round to your turn. We'll go round in a circle, and we will arrive at me, Paul. Paul Yoward is doing cryptic female choice, which should slot in nicely to Luke's thing. But without further ado, because I've bollocked on for far too long now, we'll have Andy Zapp with his just his little exposition on Ian Jury and his blockheads.
Yeah, just a little exposition. Maybe just so nice to be again. Arseholes, bastards, fucking cunts and pricks. Arseholes and bricks. The lawless brat from the council flat. Oh, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Oh, dirty tricks. She got into a mess on the NHS. Oh, reds and yellows, purples, blues and greens. She turned the corner before she turned 16. Yes, what fantastic. Well, that's the only record that I've ever listened to, and I've tried to remember the words of. Like, I've listened to hundreds of, I can't hear the Beatles and the Rolling stuff, but that record, when it came out in the 1980s, was a zeitgeist at the time. Ian Jury's New Boots and Pants, and I loved it, And Another Affair with Tina in the back of my Tina. The seasoned up hyena could not have been more obscene. She took me to the cleaners and other misdemeanors. I got right up between her rum and her Ribenas. You asked Joyce or Vicky who's their favourite pricky. I've been a Ricky Dicky and I'm doing it very well. I just love the guy. Like, he was born in 1942. Like, he came across as a bit of an Essex lad, but he wasn't. He came from quite a wealthy background. He lived in Essex. His mother was part of the landed gentry in Ireland, so they had tracts of land in Northern Ireland. His father was a chauffeur to the rich and the famous. He went to art school, got a master's. He went to the Royal Academy of Arts. His mother actually, he actually contracted polio when he was 7 years old, and he went to this school for children and they taught things like leather work and stuff like that. But his mother pushed him towards the arts. 'Cause, his aunt was also a teacher and something to do with education, and he got moved into a grammar school when he was, he was about 14.
Could he walk out for the polio? Could he walk
He
out?
could, yeah, but not very elegantly, but he could. So yeah, Ian Drury, and he went to the Royal College of Art, and he got an MA at the Royal College, which is a big deal. Yeah, he actually lived in Switzerland as well, so he's not just a Sussex boy. He's a middle class. But what a great poet, what a great songwriter. And anybody who hasn't heard the album, listen to it. New Boots and Panties by Ian Drury. Fantastic. Love it.
It's weird, isn't it? A working class hero, like John Lennon wasn't exactly a working class hero. He was from a nice part of Liverpool, if you can believe that. Precisely, yeah. But absolutely, yeah. So the first question we always obviously ask, and you're a regular, so that we didn't do any further introduction of you. First question we always ask is, why does this character appeal to you psychologically? What's in it for you?
Made the music.
Yeah.
Kind of funk, rock, loved it. And it's ahead of its time. The poetry, the poetical, nature of his wordsmithness really talked to me, especially where stuff ran past Patricia, got into a mess on the NHS, which many of us did do. In a mess on the NHS, and just this whole thing about blockheads. That song about blockheads. You must have seen parties of blockheads with lots of larded skin. They fuck their poor old Eileen. What a terrible state they're in. Would you want one puffing and blowing in your ear hole or shitting in your swimming? And it just there's use, which really attracted me to that. 1 hour. His is the only album that I learned. And what was it? Ad infinitum ad.
Well, by Rel. Yeah, ad for. You didn't write an ad then, so good.
We did a few ads, I think. A few bits on telly, but nice formy stuff in the band.
All right,
But it's blockheads.
But it's strange. It's strange he's punk in a way, isn't it? Because it's like all of these things lumped into it. He's actually really quite sophisticated. Is Ian Jury really, as you say, not just lyrically, but the sort of bass lines, the funk, the horn section. He even had a horn section, for Christ's sake. He used to fall off stage regularly with the calipers and whatnot. But yeah. But who hasn't done that really? Let's open it out to Luke. Cheers, man.
Well, the whole idea was we're not trying to be good musicians. It's actually cool to look like we're not trying, and then if someone is trying to, I'm like, you're not fucking fun.
Yeah. Well, the bassist got thrown out of the Sex Pistols because he was too good, so they replaced him with the Vicious, Sid Vicious, because he had the attitude, and that was all that was important.
Yeah, but because he had that sex and drugs and sex and drugs and rubber. And then he did another one to counter. I want to be straight. I want to be straight.
Yeah.
Taking drugs and staying up late.
Well, hit me with your rhythm stick. Could be interpreted in that way, couldn't it? Really? Yeah. I mean, what is a rhythm stick?
About show for about 10 years ago, HBO, The Trials of Ted Haggard, and he was an American evangelicist preacher, and he had a massive super church, and his sort of thing that he ran on was that he was like anti-LGBTQ stuff.
Right.
A sting happened, and it turned out that he was actually addicted to ranch boys and crystal meth. Boy who he'd been having sex with for years sold his story. HBO followed him around when he was trying to get his life together after the sex scandal. And his wife stayed with him, and she said, no, he wasn't gay. He was just going through some things.
Yeah. Although I see he meant there was a sting on him, not as in stinging the band Police.
No.
Right. So, yeah.
Anti-gay crusade. But he was just the biggest cover-up to being gay. From town and trying to get a job. The story blew up so much, you couldn't even get a job as a bus driver. And the
Serious.
yeah, they only give him a job as a bus driver. And I'm like, if he's not smoking meth while he's driving the bus and shagging anyone driving the bus, let him drive the bus.
He's guilty of being gay. Can
Mm-hmm.
I ask a slightly related question? Because you mentioned records. Yeah. And do you miss records, or do you think part of your attachment to them or any favorite artist of yours is the physical contact? Do you miss that? Is there any nostalgic attachment?
Yeah, particularly I like to buy an LP, but they came out, you kind of own something, and the covers were always beautiful. You know, I came up in the 60s, you know, and had all that kind of flower power kind of, you know,
Sergeant Pepper.
well, even prior to that, they had lovely record covers and it's a more natural sound as well, they say, because it's, like it, as it goes around, I don't know why. So, I'd save up my money to buy an LP, and it was a big thing. You go in a record shop and you sort of pick it. Now, all I do is go on Spotify.
That's what you're living with books, right?
Yeah, I prefer books to, audio books, really. I like books. Because I know, like books can be quite complicated, really. And I have to kind of say all that, to remind myself what's going on. And but I like records. I like having like, mind you that after a party, the record would be going round with the can of lager on the record, agains and everything. Like rid of the load record.
I think people respected artists more when it was like that. So I used to buy albums and CDs when I was growing up. And I would always listen to a project from start to finish. Now people mostly just know someone's hit single and they just want to consume that bit of it. But it's always actually put effort into making an album. Sometimes it takes you through that full journey and people don't really appreciate that anymore. And so I like to listen to start to finish. People don't really do.
Mm-hmm.
I wish physical media was still going as much. Because also, they can just take things down any street and service at any time. If you don't own running access to it, so you don't respect the work as more. And also as well, people expect to turn over projects quick. As I said before, an artist every few years, they're going to have some experience and then put those feelings into their new project or new album. Why? Because they've got to see the content machine. It's not going to have something as quick as possible. And then it's the news where me is really forced time.
But it's more social, wasn't it? I'd get the album with my friends and I'd never listen to the album. And maybe they'd get it or they'd get an album like, oh, I like listen to the album. More social.
It's not just that. I mean, I was around during the blockades being actually, at the time, but there's a direct relationship between you purchasing something, then you taking it home, and you kind of trying to get the best out of that. I mean, some albums which, like Astral Weeks by Van Morrison, I really didn't like that at all when I first heard it. And if it had been now, just with the streaming, etc., then I wouldn't have listened to it at all. I'd have been like, what the heck is this? It's just random noises and he's making up stuff as he's going along. And then because I'd bought this physical object, it was like, well, I'll give it a try then, I mean, there might be something here. I don't know. It is Van Morrison after all. And I'm playing it again. It's like, Ian Dury is not the most mellifluous of voices, is he? So similar sort of thing. It's like, you have this thing, you play it, you don't dismiss it. Yeah.
Gave people more room to be an artist and experiment and expect things to be exactly like the last project. If you look at someone's last album and they've released a new album, and it's not exactly the same as the one before. The last experience I had with that was a few years ago. There's a singer called Frank Ocean, and his first album was soul and really, really upbeat, and the second one is a lot more acoustic and slowed down. It's not something you really play around with. It's more of a solo, individual listening experience.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to it enough times. I was actually able to appreciate it. It's actually a great piece of art. You just have to take the time and sit with it and digest it. But there's a quote from one of my favorite rappers, Paul Rap, and he says, you can only get entertained to the level of your intellect. So there are people who can try and show something, or people I know might try and show a piece of theatre or a really good novel or something and like, this is crap, this is boring. No. You're too stupid to appreciate why it's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hello, I saw Harold Pinter. Potential
Yeah.
thing now.
To study some of him before.
Mm.
I didn't quite get the work. I knew he was really respected, but I did find it to be very pretentious. There was, I think it was like the birthday or something, and the guy staying around at his house, and I was forced to study this. I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
There is some degree of onus on the artist really to entertain at least, at least try to entertain, isn't it? You know, and you can't. I mean, you always give 100 at least. Well, you can only give 100% is the thing. But in jury, always packed in as much as he possibly could, and you couldn't say that he wasn't giving good value. I mean, he was literally sweat and blood, wasn't it, that was coming off on the stage from the guy? But Christ.
Guys at the times and everything. That was it. Spasticus fantasticus.
Spasticus artisticus, is it? Yeah.
Fantastic.
Oh, and Fantasticus. Okay.
Something out of the charities turned against him. You know, he wanted that as an anthem for disabled.
Mm-hmm. It should have been a scoper then, up periscoper, and that would have been fine by everybody. I mean, the best review I ever saw of an album was for Tago Mago by Can, which is meant to be cannibal anarchy and nihilism is the backward, sort of acronym or whatever you call them. Cannibalism, and anyways. So it said, if you don't like this album at first, what you need to do is listen to it until you do. Until you like it, you need to continue. I mean, it's an amazing album because there's like only about 5 or 6 tracks on it. 2 of them are unlistenable, but it is one of the best albums of all time. Yeah. No, it's not a great hit rate. It seems crazy, but like it opens with Paper House and then Mushroom Head, you know. And there's loads of bands who are sort of influenced by this, like the whole Manchester scene, I guess, you know, if you look at the influence of Ian Jury as well. I mean, the only other sort of working class, well, again, nebulous background, that sort of poetry angle is maybe Shane MacGowan, isn't it? That sophistication of lyrics was only reproduced in this country, again, from the punk scene. By the Pogues, I guess. So we've got the psychological angle out of there. Is there any more to mop up in terms of loose ends regarding Ian Jury, the panel around who are going to inquisit Andy for?
I don't actually know who Ian Jury is.
Yeah. Well, this is it. I bet you've never heard his music, have you, Gertz?
25 man.
Yeah, that's where this is it, isn't it? Yeah. Well, what you need to do is, if you don't like it at first, right.
Wembley Stadium, 1999 history trip for my mum, 10 years old. And we were there when we used to let mum, and people were like fainting, like they'd seen in the fire. Like I was actually seeing grown men have like great abs. I was 10.
Well, they tried to do the moonwalk. I mean, as you can tell anyway, we're moving along now to the very shy and retiring Luke MacDonald. He's what we call around the BoloXology circuit, we call him an irregular, because the regulars who've been on the podcast several times, it's me, Nico, and Andy. It's no insult, it's just you're an irregular, as is GURPS. So what we ask with irregulars is please give yourself a little bit introduction and then go straight into your spiel. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm Luke. Been doing comedy since 2018 from Birmingham. I've gigged with Nico before, and I'm on that sort of side. I think it's only a few non-left-wing ethnic minority comedians in the country. I think maybe 100% of them are at this table right now.
Yeah. You know, Darius Davies, maybe, but he's borderline, isn't he? Yeah.
Greedy little twat.
I'd probably fuck myself. We've been on stage, who are black comics, like ethnic comics, and I see them on stage. They're up there like trans women are women. You won't say that.
I'm not going to make any kind of pun about fucking yourself out of anything here, but I understand your subject is what?
Oh, so I was talking about the recent thing with the OnlyFans girls in this sort of Cold War to see who can have sex with the most men. It was Lily Phillips and Bonnie Blur. About a month ago, Lily Phillips had sex with 100 guys in a day. To do 1,000 this month. But her rival, Bonnie Blur, actually beat her to it 2 or 3 days ago. And she said she had sex with 1,000 men in 12 hours. And I worked out the logistics of that being able to, it was like 40 seconds per man. Who's traveling for 40 seconds?
Yeah. Well, you can times that by 3, divide it by 3, maybe, can you?
Sure.
Yeah.
Don't know if
Right.
they're available. I've not seen any of the video footage yet, but we can get it up.
In the Kama Sutra, not Kama Sutra, the Joy of Sex, there's armpit sex, so I don't know whether that would count.
Yeah. So we'll get to she's got syphilis of the air.
Do you remember the Japanese one that died?
Oh, yeah, that was something from last year. A Japanese porno actress, she was doing a Bacardi scene, drowned to death in on set.
Wow. That's, I'm suffering for your art, isn't it, really? Sorry, Andy.
And so they were wearing condoms. Well, they must have all been wearing condoms when they were shagging.
In the American versions of these videos, this is like a thing that's been going up for maybe 20 years. There's the famous one, Annabelle trying from back 20 years ago. To set the world record, having sex with the most men in one day. And she got to 251. And various of the guys actually didn't wear condoms. And she said that she was willing to die for this. She felt like it was like her life's work.
Hey. Yeah. Wow.
About her life. She starts self-harming and cutting herself with a knife during the documentary. But the documentary maker said, like, we're non-participant observers. We can't interact. Like, this is...
All right. Like a nature video with David Attenborough or something. Yeah.
You can see this. But basically, yeah, so she did it 20 years ago. And it's nearly said that all art is copied. So this is privacy in the UK now. But this is in America, it's 20 years, 251. The next year, a girl called Jasmine St. Clair beat her record to 300 and caused Annabelle Chan to spiral into depression. And the director made millions of dollars for that film, and she was only supposed to $10,000, and he scammed her out of the money. And at the end of the documentary, she's sitting there in a apartment crying, and all she has is a T-shirt that says, "I was in the world's biggest gangbang."
I've been there, got the T-shirt, didn't get the bank balance. Yeah, that's terrible.
Until these women, Lily Phillips and Bonnie Blue, sort of cold war with each other for these sort of views on OnlyFans to see who can do the most disgusting stuff. So she did 100. Now she did 1,000, beat her to record of that. So the other girl has to think of something worse than screwing 100 dudes. Discussed her. Oh, what's it going to be like? Animals? She gargles fucking HIV juice and spits it out. That kind of contract. Why not this one?
Oh, have you seen the backdoor challenge that she's going for?
I saw a headline, but I didn't get to read it.
Right.
Oh, challenger.
Yeah, it's a numbers game. I mean, my guess is 5. I mean, can that be possible? There's a dilation going on, and same time. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go pee real quick. Sign for the backdoor challenge.
Mm.
One in the bossy chewing, and that was also one of her credits.
Accurate with that. If we can come back to it, because it's actually 1,057. Yeah. So 57 on its own is an incredible number, isn't it? In 12 hours, you know. So it's a Heinz variety.
Question.
That's what we were working.
Yeah.
We were sitting down doing maths on the logistics, but we didn't know how many holes were.
But Yeah. But
Yes.
one of the factors in it is that he's overestimated the amount of time that a guy usually takes to come in terms of a fog. So like a minute and a half is actually, once, if he's primed already with a boner and he's going in, yeah, then this half an hour thing and all that, that's, it's not, that's in porn. That's not the typical amount of time that, according to, biologists.
About time.
Oh.
The waiting room, all the guys just waiting and basically staying on. And there was basically a big bingo screen, bingo ticket, and when your number came up, that was your time to go out.
So they were fluffed, and I mean, now there's a blue pill as well, obviously.
You're ready. Chuck Palahniuk, the writer of Fight Club, he actually wrote a comedy parody book, and it took all the guys in the waiting room for the world's biggest game. These are the conversations that the guys were having in the waiting room, ready to go. You understand?
Is it late?
Know so much about this kind of stuff. And I've read loads of books and documentaries about pornography, the sex industry, pimping and things like that like that. And there's a famous book by a guy called Iceberg Slam, made for the world's most famous pimps. He's an American guy. He was also an author. And before he was an author, he was like one of America's sort of biggest pimps. And he wrote about the psychology of pimping, how you get women into the sex industry. It's really dark. And he said he used to find things that they were missing in their childhood from their parents, and he would sort of nourish that part of their relationship. So they began to see him as a parental figure, and he was like, that's how you meet someone a prostitute. And that is like a book you could buy by W.H. Smith's if anyone wants to tell it.
So not to preempt a word, but this is a kind of grooming phenomena then about
how you find someone like that and how you sort of dig into their psychology, and then you convince them rather than force them that it's a good idea and this is your idea, and they implement like a business idea. All women are actually prostitutes. If a woman has a husband and lives with him, he pays for the food and things of that nature. You're just doing it on a smaller, more economical and efficient scale. So you're just left where.
So this dovetails a little bit into the area of the game, and maybe even Andrew Tate or whatever that he is.
I was actually going to get the audio book to listen to it, but yeah, there's loads of sort of the pickup artist things of that, and it's like you have to figure out what they want to get, and then just sell them that dream. And some people want to be sold a dream. A short film years ago that was submitted for a college or a uni project. And it was a documentary that was on the BBC 15, 20 years. Never make this again. And it was about a kid called Otto Rickstand. And he was a kid who had Down syndrome. And he was trying to lose his virginity because his brothers were all cool and getting laid. And he was a bit laid. So the BBC funded the documentary following around this Down syndrome guy. Laid. He was very unsuccessful. Even gave him money and sent him to Vegas. I wrote a short film about this and submitted it as a education. And it's about a bunch of people in a house, and we're just doing the talking. And in it, the girls are watching this documentary in the short film. And one of the girls gives a sort of a bit of a monologue as to why she wouldn't have sex with a guy with Down syndrome. And it was normal. If you're going to sleep with a man, even if you don't, he's sort of running down on you. You wake up and see him in the morning. Yes. His game was sophisticated enough. So then, if you wake up next to a guy with Down syndrome, you don't have that excuse.
Yeah. I mean, one of Norm Macdonald's lines, obviously one of our heroes, was, the guy fucks like a retard. Nobody fucks like a retard. So, I mean, that could have been his selling factor, really. That might have worked for him. I don't know.
Right. Was this prison story?
The pimping joke.
Oh, yeah. I'm quoting Norm Macdonald here. But they say pimping ain't easy. Well, they don't tell you it's much harder to be a prostitute.
And assistant crack whore is not a very good job either, is it? Yeah. But so we've got a little bit of the psychology of why you're interested in this area, this subject area. So you've got the sort of the psychology of it for for the people. But any other sort of insights into what has made you investigate this as a subject?
I think just growing up as a smut peddling degenerate, but also as well, ties in. I grew up on hip hop and gangster rap. Culture within promiscuity within that sort of environment. I used to be about rap and private comedy. And then before, it was somewhat celebrated in hip hop. I got money, you got drugs, and it's women with no morals. And that was like a big part of it. And now the entertainment game is a bit changed, where people can't celebrate that. I'm sure they're still doing it. I think people would be, I'd be filming, if I had a tour bus, I'd be filming consent videos that you are getting onto the tour bus. Consenting, getting onto this tour bus, having sex with these people. You'd be having all kinds of forms and ways aside. So I think it's just, the entertainment industry, if people had sort of that level of power, it was just expected that came along with it. First you get the money, then you get the power, you get the women.
Yeah, apparently Snoop Doggy Dogg left a trail of discussion.
First place, for the drugs, the women, the money, the sex.
A lot of male comics have to pretend to be eunuchs nowadays. We've said this before on stage. I know, and they get on stage, they're like, oh, women don't speak to me, and I'm such a pussy, and things of that nature. And they don't admit that they shag women. Whereas sometimes in my set, I'll do a story about how I've been on the road and had like a random hookup with like a woman after the show. Some people are like, I can't believe you were saying that. You're from sex with an audience member. You're at work. Fuck people at work.
Yeah.
By all, spending time in a place, you gotta meet people. You want to be that second. I've had office jobs. I've worked in bars, things of that nature. But I think with female sexuality and gay men's sexuality is really celebrated. So I've been in a comedy club sometimes. Get on stage and he will just say, I am gay. Get a round of applause. And then if I tell a story about me having sex with them, we're like, you fucking degenerate piece of shit.
Yeah, but you got fucking full of waivers, though.
I get it printed on it.
You know, that's why
Big lads and she's dyslexic.
Oh my God, yeah, what's the well comedy? Yeah. I think this, of course, there's a lot of laughs and giggles because it's about sex and it's taboo and all that. But it also ties into two other big ongoing debates of our society. One is the question of people's indignation that someone else is after easy money, easy fame, or not being not having any talent at all, like Kim Kardashian. Like people are indignant even when a footballer breaks a transfer record, right? Or how come doctors and nurses and teachers are struggling with beach football? Even worse is when you are a content creator or a food critic of Instagram. And now we have OnlyFans, of course, which has, there's this meme about Karl Marx theory of labor value coming through it, smashing it. That's right. It says OnlyFans. Oh, right. So, and because many of the OnlyFans don't make a lot of money, they have to come with these stunts. So one argument is that what kind of society are we? Is it fair? Is it sane? Is it healthy that some people just show their body or even worse come up with such stunts and make a lot of money, whereas, doctor and nurse and teacher. And the other debate that, especially after the story of Lily Phillips, flared up again, I was watching Pearl Davis, who is a very controversial YouTuber, and because she takes usually the men's side, she comes under heavy criticism. So she was talking about this unholy or strange alliance, if you like, between conservative men and feminists who decided that in case of Lily Phillips to go after men and blame men because there is demand for the supply. It's your fault. You subscribe to OnlyFans, you go on OnlyFans, you want to have sex with Lily Phillips. So in her words, with which I agree, as usual, no accountability for women. I mean, some people might have been groomed or brainwashed or, and take down all that story. But
Yeah.
we are talking about adults, women who have decided that I want to become famous through this media. So one question is easy money and fame at any price, even when you have no substance and no talent. And the other question is, whose fault is that? Is Lily Phillips someone being abused by unscrupulous men, or does she have agency, the word which is so dear to feminists, right? So she should own it, maybe.
Yeah, and also as well, like there was been a lot of things as a British feminist when we wrote an article blaming the men. But yeah, does she have agency or does she not have agency? And also, all the guys going there for 40 seconds are fucking losers. Like she's rich. All these guys are 40 seconds of pussy. Come on.
I mean, there was a still of them.
And it's live.
There was a.
Once in the OIP challenge.
3 seconds. What?
Slightly 566 yards.
So there was a still of the blue one, the Bonnie Blue, and all the guys have got blue balaclavas on, which I don't know if it's a green screen thing. I mean, it's called a green screen, but obviously blue applies as well. So that's how much of a star they are in the sense of she's the center of it. This sort of piece of meat, and they're all feasting on it for a tiny amount of time, isn't it?
In terms of the clean of the room, what this is
Airbnb, isn't it? Yeah.
a short story about something peripheral to this. You've seen a lot of recurrent themes in my work, but I once submitted a short story to a piece of university and my restricted to course about a story called Jizma. And it was about a guy who was on his summer holiday from university and I'll just get into the porn industry. And he went and he said, no, actually, it takes a long time to get in. You have to start on the bottom rung of the set. So they made him the Jizma. And he was the guy who has to clean up all the bodily fluids at the end of the pornography scenes.
Nice. Because if you do the calculations of 1,000, I mean, there's the myth about 10 cc from the ban of ejaculate. It's actually half of that. It's about 5 cc. So you're still looking at, liters of cum all over the place in this Airbnb that somebody's let out on, with a retainer or whatever they put in there.
And Benny was bad as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So their place is famous now, isn't it? Oh.
On saturation.
Well, I was wondering what happened to all that cum then. Were they ejaculated condoms?
No, I don't think so, no. Yeah.
And I'm a fiver. I think they had people that they accidentally had a large one.
Yeah.
Formula One team when they changed the wheels between numbers.
Dentist things that go.
Well, Annabelle Chong had to have she had to have a stomach pump, didn't she, at one point,
I think she was quite speed and right? She was having little brains. You in a pump speed just to sort of get her through. And Lily Phillips said she was disassociating. But if you watch the Annabelle Chong one, she is not disassociating. She is very fully present around that scene.
Yeah. Wow, I don't know you, young.
Nice. And he knows.
Yeah. Well, I think we've licked the corners of that entire subject, perhaps, and so without further ado, moving on to Nico, please. If you're a regular, so just a brief introduction, and then straight into your spiel, please.
Hi there, I'm Nicholas DeSanto, Italian Iranian comic based in London, and good to be back.
Cheers.
So on that happy note, I've got it easy because Paul suggested I talk about the Iranian element that also comes up on my in my comedy. and the whole jail term. I don't know if you can call it street cred. I was technically arrested on the street because it was a demonstration in Iran, but this has been highlighted in Trigonometry podcast, which is a famous competitor to BoloXology. So, yeah, I joke about it because it was only 2 weeks. So in Europe, maybe not these days with 2 weeks here, clear putting people in jail, but up until a few months ago, having done even 2 weeks of jail sounded like a big deal. And I was kind of embarrassed because by Iranian standards is nothing. So
Any torture in there?
nothing worthy of mention. I mean, ironically, funny you ask, we were held in cells, well, just 2 weeks, right? But these were cells which were supposed to be for solitary confinement. And of course, solitary confinement is a crime, is a form of torture, and notoriously done to opposition figures in Iran. However, they had arrested so many people that they were keeping us like in 16 in a room meant for solitary confinement. So ironically, I was like yearning. I can stretch my legs, you know.
People got killed. That's gotta get horny.
So yeah, now I joke about it because I say people sometimes tell me they don't believe I have been to an Iranian jail, but nowadays they watch my comedy and they don't believe I have been to a British. But the good thing about it is that, well, it makes you a bit more courageous. Because after all, I can't have the same level of fear from British authorities if I've had that. But
Yeah, to talk about grooming gangs, they'll have you shanked up with Tommy. Raise your profile.
yeah, speaking of raising your profile, it can't help. Maybe that's why I haven't been arrested. So.
Yeah. Blood pressure's
If you know how long you was fight for, you know, that was the worst part. And that was the worst part of it. That basically, I think, scared the hell out of my parents because we had other people in the family who had done 4 years, 5 years, and then they took us, albeit for just 2 weeks, to this very notorious prison in Tehran, just called Evin. So everybody goes there. Western hostages, world citizens, Lazat Zahi Ratcliffe, opposition figures, Nobel laureates, spies, and people who are executed, and mass executions have happened there. So this is a very notorious prison. And the thing is, they catch you, and then they decide. I don't know if it's an Iranian joke, maybe, but they say. In the jungle, all animals were stampeding and were escaping. And one of the animals finds, let's say, a zebra and said, "Why are you escaping?" I said, "Well, the king of the jungle has said that all gazelles must be arrested and killed. And what you are a zebra? No, they first kill you and then check." So they first arrest you and then they start making some verification or whatever. Of course, my luck was that my father worked for the foreign ministry, so he could bail with essentially his job, not a hefty amount of cash, which most people don't have. So after a couple of weeks, when my father shows up to the office in charge, okay, this is my son, and I work for the foreign ministry. So then, okay, he is released on bail until we do the, ascertain. What were you charged with then? Well, pretty much what everybody had been charged with: action against national security. All these Orwellian terminologies that are now very popular in Britain. Hate crime. They basically, and this is again funny in a sad way, when their foreign minister comes out and tries to shill and, misdirect stupid Western journalists. It says, well, we don't have political prisoners in Iran. And technically he is right, because they don't call them political prisoners. They call them enemies of God. saboteurs. Like you can write an article in a newspaper about some problems in distribution of potatoes and onions. And you can lament that. And they branded Soviet style agitating public opinion, right? So some people have read this. So these they were the pioneers of taking offense, feeling discomfort, way before the rest. So people read about this and they're agitated and they are disheartened. So this is a crime. So you go to a simple, peaceful anti-government demonstration and then you're charged with national security and action against that possibility. Many people can't pay the bail, so they are there maybe rotting for months until it's their turn. Thankfully, I could come out kind of early because of my father's job. We didn't have to go for cash or sell anything to bail me out. And then, of course, the good thing was that they were so scared of me being a hothead, getting arrested once again. At that time, I wasn't a stand-up comedian, so I had no other channel. So they just helped me out to get back to Italy.
Do you go back? That's something interesting. Do you go back to visit?
I can't because I have, first of all, having a dual, in my case, triple citizenship. Basically, it would be a boon because every time they have a hostage, every time they have a terrorist arrested somewhere in a Western country, they go for the idiot from that Western country. Was a whole section of the Guardian, and I decided, what about assassinating a chanting country? So at the airport, they have, okay, today we need an Italian because one of our guys has been arrested in Italy and is wanted. U.S. administration for yeah, exactly. And if they catch me, they can. This is exactly what I would not done exactly a ago. I have a tweet about that. So that's that. And then I have also worked for the BBC. I used to work for the BBC. So again, that is seen as the enemy of the state. And
I agree with
British imperialism. They think so. So for that reason,
I think that would be a great solo show title for you at some point. Either like Vegetarian or Enemy of the State. I think that's great.
enemy of God is.
Yeah.
Find the middle ground.
The venue has to be strong, though, not to give it to people wanting to cancel it.
Well, I was going to ask you off camera, but I was going to ask you to open one of my solo shows at some point, and I'm based in Birmingham, which is the home, the ground zero. It's like, we need good security on the doors that you get. I normally do my own security at the solo shows, like I'm the headline, and doing tech, and doing tickets, and I throw people out. Like, it's here quick then.
Yeah, so that was the situation. I mean, ironically, it's much more believable. And thanks to Elon Musk, it's much more believable to be in prison so cheaply and arbitrarily. That's the term, as it's happening in the UK. So it's not a big deal anymore.
There was something that me and Gareth were talking about how there are various people in prison for memes. And obviously there's the grooming gang inquiry stuff that's gone on this week, people striking that down. They can justify putting imprisoning people for memes, but they're outraged that people are outraged about people having sex with children.
Yes.
And they were putting people in prison. Do you know this meme is dangerous?
Yeah.
There's something with the, Axel Rudicon about in the first few weeks, and various left-wing comics, and we were going on social media going, look, he's not a Muslim, he's a Christian. And I said, why would a Christian do this?
Yeah.
You can see. And then when it came out that he had an Al-Qaeda training manual, he may have been radicalized. Not a peep from them on social media. They've gone so radio silent on that. After the first week of blogging, sometimes until that come out, and immediately, before there's been any investigation, said, it's not a conspiracy. I'm like, there's no time to investigate. How can you tell me that no one is conspiring before any evidence or anything's even been released?
I mean, he wasn't exactly baptized with a name that you'd find in the Bible either, was he? I mean, I'm not sure. There's maybe apocryphal parts of it, but I don't think his name's in there
I
someplace.
always say the ultimate proof that I am white is that if my characters attack legacy media in the UK, immediately declare me as white.
Yeah.
Top man. Here's him in Sunday school, his child. Oh, sweet man.
Yeah, that's how you.
Yeah.
Very young, very young.
Can you tell us that translation incident that you had? I'm pretty sure the one where the guy he's swearing, and you were translating it for him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, one of the jobs I did during COVID, because I had been suspended, but this is maybe for another story, another topic. If I'm invited back,
Absolutely.
I was suspended from the BBC because of my comedy. Ironically, I was trying to raise my profile, but the more I raised my profile, the more trouble. So that was the irony. So you can see BBC. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my comedy was accused of bringing the BBC's otherwise good, impeccable. So
Now then. Yeah. Yeah.
because the Spectator ran an online feature called the best unwatched comedy to watch in lockdown, and I was one of those 4 comedies who had performed at Unleashed. I was very flattered, of course, but then my disciplinary proceedings started as well. Anyway, so I was suspended from work, and I was working as an interpreter for various companies. And this, ironically, as a right-wing comedian against mass immigration, facilitating. Done it, they would have, because these are legal studios who are being paid by the government. This is all legal aid to provide legal assistance to the asylums who are usually bogus asylums. And I, speaking Persian, could provide translations, and these people would be prepared for their interviews with the Home Office. And sometimes they had done the interview with the Home Office, but there would have been a second interview, or the interview had to be confirmed by the asylum applicant and their legal team. So we had to go through it, and they had to confirm what they had said to the Home Office. And obviously most of them were bogus, and I hated myself for doing this anyway. You gotta pay the bill.
Like me and trans.
The funniest moment was that a lot of them, of course, claimed to have become converts, right? To have become Christians, because that's one of the good grounds for presumably gaining asylum.
Some gay as well. My mom
Yeah. Sometimes, well, there were some of those who would try to take as many other guys. Anything for which you would be in trouble in Iran gives you some points.
All the NGOs had primed them with the non-governmental organizations. Yeah.
Not just the NGOs, but they already have brothers and cousins and people. Yeah.
But she said, my mom used to do the job, so she would actually be speaking through the entire to the people actually doing the interviews. She said to me, one of the giveaways of the fake asylum claims was that everyone had the same date of birth, and everyone's date of birth was the 1st of January, because they couldn't remember any other dates in English, and then had like a whole family. January 1st.
That can be due to another reason, not much maybe in Iran, which is not as backward as some other countries, without mentioning them. They haven't had a registry up until a couple of decades ago. So when they go ask for a passport from the government, nobody knows when they were born. So by convention, everybody is born on the 1st of January. This might be one reason. But yeah, of course, the Home Office tries, I'd like to think in good faith, but we know about the deep state and how they wrote against the Priti Patel and all that. But they try to establish if this guy's claim is legitimate. Like how did he become a Christian? Yeah, I was a fruit vendor, and then this Armenian guy came and one day told, and I'm thinking, this guy is from an area in Iran where no Armenians live. Because I know we're Armenians and all that. Anyway, so one of the questions was, to get to Paul's question, so you have definitely become a Christian now? Are you a Christian now? And the answer is yes, yes, I swear to the Holy Quran. I am a
He's kind of a Christian, yeah. Oh,
am Heathrow Air about 15 years ago. And when people used to come in from Islamic country and remote country, they would actually let them in. They come in, they say, you can come in, but you have to go to East Croydon to pick up a form and do it. So people are allowed in and they deal with the what they call them at the border, border control or whatever. So passport control, passport.
No.
anti-alien people.
East Croydon. So they'd let them in. And you didn't have to go to East Croydon now to pick up a piece of paper, and fill out some forms and then the process will, carry on from there.
Mm.
As far as East Croydon. And then it's in the Fine Trust Society.
This is one of the, to link it to the inauguration of Trump on Monday, this is one of the things that Trump had established, and of course Biden removed. They call it catch and release, which is what was happening under Biden. So they catch the guy and they say, okay, here's your form. Show yourself in 3 months, 3 weeks at the court. And of course, nobody shows up.
Yeah.
No.
The guy that looks like it's kind of divisive.
I think similar to the thing over here, whereas the Democrats are maybe like wanting to vote, so maybe these guys can't vote, but their children will be able to vote.
The amnesty of these.
Yeah. So let's say, if the citizens are already one child in, these guys have 5 children in. That's 5 voters in your voter base in 20 years' time.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, at a good bit earlier. Maybe it was Hainsley about all the illegals coming back. You're going to do that. That's so funny.
Trump's inaugurated on Monday, and he said he plans mass deportations next week. So there's videos of thousands of illegals floating back across the borders to Mexico. And my friend said, done so bad. People are deporting themselves.
But yeah, this is the last weekend of Joseph Robinette Biden, to give him his full title. That's his real middle name. It's an et, isn't it? So, yeah. A Velocette, is that a woman's motorbike? I don't know. But yeah, that's him. Like, he's like a parchment full of human ordure, isn't he, really? He's a sack of shit with fucking slits for eyes. I mean, we don't swear much on this, but, once I start about Biden, then, well, fuck him, yeah.
And for years, they were like, there's nothing wrong with him. There's hours of compilation, or so much compilation footage of Biden and his verbal gaps. And there's one that me and Gaps love to rewatch. And I think it was when he was on the run for president. And he was working as a swimming pool that he used to work at when he was a kid. It's called the Corn State.
Yeah.
And it's on YouTube. And you cannot put that on any other platform. Try to put it on any other social media platform. The video gets struck down. Even you can get an animated version of it. You can click the audio, actually the videos of it. The algorithm recognizes that and will not let you post on any social media.
Yeah.
I love that clip. So there's a bunch of black kids in the pool, and he tells all the black kids to get out for the photo.
Yeah.
There's a big meme, that pool's closed meme. You know the pool's closed meme, right? With the afro. We always reference that. Pool's closed.
You won't know what that is. It's a very niche Reddit internet.
In the meme, the pool's closed because of AIDS. So in the internet sphere, back in the day, there used to be this game called Habbo, and people started, all the Nazis started closing, not real Nazis, our type of Nazis. But essentially, a bunch of memers convinced actual pool, they phoned them up and they said, you got to put a sign up that the pool is closed because of AIDS. There was someone here with AIDS. And they actually convinced their fucking pools to actually put their sign and close the pool for a day.
Yeah.
It's like a computer game thing where people have avatars that represent their real selves. And if you send your character in front of the pool, other people can't access the pool. So all the white characters were standing around the edge of the pool, preventing black characters from getting in the pool, like it was the 1950s, and it became sort of a long-running joke. When the writer went to do that speech, they're basically asking him about his job as a teenager and working in working class communities and stuff. And he went on a tangent about how he was starting to fight with a black gang. He had all the switchblade on, and he had a metal chain and was swinging it.
Mm.
And it descends into this story. But I know that his handlers did not tell him the story. He said, "Oh, he's a bad guy." And he chain and I was swinging it in my head. And I'm going to fight these blacks at the ball. And the handlers go, "So."
I mean, you can tell how demented he is because he actually ripped a speech off from Neil Kinnock, of all people, and he claimed his dad was a miner, not that kind of miner. We know that he has dealings with miners. That's the Neil Young reference, yeah.
In one of his attempts at presence, yeah.
That's right, yeah. He obviously tried a few times, didn't he, to get this gig. But I mean, speaking of heads of hair, I mean, we have here Gerbs, who was going to tell us his full name. And we obviously have happily answered your questions in terms of why this appeals to you as a subject area, because it's your life. And so, yeah, as I say, take it away with your incredible head of hair, and avoid Joe Biden sniffing at it as it goes.
Yeah, so my name is Gerbs, Chima, stand-up comic. Much like Nico from Italy, but I'm not quite Italian. I'm Indian. I grew up in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've been doing stand-up for 6 or 7 years now.
Cool.
And it used to be very Asian-centric material initially. Hey, I'm Asian, everybody.
I mean, there's a slight American sort of accent going on, a little bit similar to Nico, to be honest.
I guess we have the same problem. English, like watching lots of American movies and Canadians.
Go in American school.
No. I just watch content.
No, I kind of started in Iran, which was difficult because it was the language of the enemy.
Yeah.
You've got
I also a lot of America and the right shit. Yeah. Good pronunciation.
I watched Louis as a kid when I was like 11, 12. You know this Louis C.K.'s TV show?
All right. Horace and Pete.
No, Louis. It was about him doing stand-up and being on the road, like a road comic.
All right. So that was our introduction to stand-up comedy as well, was it?
So I'd seen clips of him, and then I heard that he had a TV show. And then watching the TV show really made me do it. It made me want to do it. And I learned English by just reading the subtitles. All right. That's why I picked up the accent. I haven't been to America yet. One day, maybe.
Yeah.
Let's see how.
So speaking of America, obviously we've mentioned the marvelous Elon Musk.
So that was going to be my
times. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's quite interesting what's happening right now. So he's brought to light the stuff about the grooming gangs. Me and Luke have been like on a rabbit hole about grooming gangs lately. Just learning as much as possible because it's fucking fascinating stuff.
No, right.
Number one group. But no, it's quite interesting because obviously he's just raising awareness. Instead of investigating the grooming gangs, the government is like investigating Elon's tweets into the grooming gangs. They want get him arrested. Like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
Tell me about that. Delve into the BBC Three Girls drama that I showed you from years ago.
Yeah, so I hadn't seen that before. Have you guys seen Three Girls?
I've seen BBC Three, but that's about it, really.
BBC TV show from about 8 years ago, which is a dramatisation of the grooming gangs.
Mm-hmm.
It's the last time it ever sort of done any programming like that. It was a guy who watched it in Wales. They say radicalised him, and he drove to London in a van and drove into Finsbury Park Moss, which is supposed to be sort of one of the most radicalised mosques in England. And they said after that, they felt that the content of radicalised people, so they just produce anything.
So yeah, I lived in Wales at the time, and it was nothing to do with me, by the way.
I put the documentary on. I was like, all right, I'll rent the van out, guys.
He was from the Rhondda, I think. He was from nowhere near Cardiff, yeah.
But yeah, that stuff about Elon Musk is quite interesting. What do you guys think of this whole like grooming gang?
I think I saw a great quote on Facebook this week from a comedian from the comedy part who was a friend of mine who's some quite political. He's not as vocal because he wants to keep making money in the industry.
Yeah.
But he said over the last month, Trump derangement syndrome has been replaced with Musk derangement syndrome. And it's very similar to in 1984, they have what they call an hour of hate, which is where the authorities or the system will pick a figure and they'll tell all the people, this is the person you hate this one. And they'll all go and shout at the screen and blame the problems in this person. And I see it in meme groups getting political. And I'm like, what has this man done for you to hate him? You don't hate Bill Gates. You don't hate Mark Zuckerberg and things of that nature. And it's very easy to manipulate people and get them to focus their hate into think, all right, this is what all the problems are in the world. And over the last few years, I've seen how easily people are manipulated. I've also aware of it anyway. I'm just realised from month to month, the media can just focus on a person and go, okay, you all hate Andrew Tate this month, you all hate Musk this month. You can be a celebrity. There was the guy who was off MasterChef or something a month or two ago.
Oh, yeah.
So sexual related problems to do with food. All of those cooking foods filled with sexual puns about food. And it's like, he's not the first person to do this. So why is Chris Rock said we have this selective outrage at this moment? I think they can just focus people like a laser, the general public, and to just destroy someone in a minute. Not everyone, because the left will say there's no cancel culture, but then they'll say cancel him. And I'm like, is there no cancel culture over cancelling people? It's very much that. It's a denial first. It's not happening. It's happening, but it's a good thing. And then, yeah, it's just sort of goes through.
And you have to embrace it. I mean, the most hilarious thing is, on X, they'll say he's an idiot and an authoritarian. And he owns X. And he's probably one of the smartest people who've ever lived. But they're saying on his X, the Twitter X, that he's an authoritarian and you can't say what you want. So it's like the entire thing is just, totally up its own arsehole, isn't it?
You achieve nothing with their lives. But you are telling them to criticizing or saying people are stupid who've done so much. Well, that's what you like or what he's done. That's the people that make. And like, you're in a minimum fucking wage job telling this man who's created so many pieces of technology, if not himself, invested that and took technology forward, probably by decades. If he's an idiot, then why are you?
The funniest thing is they call him an incel sometimes, and he's got like 10, 11 kids. Does he really look like an incel?
I mean, he's been married to some of the most attractive sort of actresses and musicians in the world. Yeah.
Like Amber.
There's always a buzzword as well that comes into play throughout the year for a few months. So if, maybe last year or the year before, women on social media were calling any man they did like a narcissist without actually knowing what that means. It's a great quote, and it said, somewhere right now in Western civilization, there are a group of women sitting around the table telling the most self-centered woman you've ever met in your life, you need to think more about yourself.
Censor yourself,
The legacy media have all the good reasons to go after Musk because Musk is ultimately the biggest threat to their cloud. They went into derangement syndrome in 2016 when Trump won, and they blamed his victory on Russian disinformation on Facebook because Trump actually used Facebook very effectively, and Hillary, which had been offered by Facebook to run ads for her, snubbed them because she thought, why should I have New York Times and CNN and everyone else? So that's why they went after Zuckerberg, and Zuckerberg, by the way, a few days ago has kind of started repentance and,
I think he's trying to save his hide and this come to the answers.
Well, whether he's genuinely, honest or not, it's a positive development. But now we have X. Obviously, Musk took over X, made a free speech platform, and of course the legacy media shudder at the thought of they're already losing audiences to any alternative media, be it X or whatever platform So there's that. And then he has supported Trump openly, and he is rich, but not Hollywood Democrat A-list rich, owner of New York Times, rich, not George Soros rich, but free speech and Trump rich.
Yeah, man, because we've got one guy. They own the rest of the one guy. And then over the last 2 months, there's been basically an exodus of comedians and entertainers leaving X and going on to Blue Sky, which is a new social media platform, where apparently it's very heavily censored, and you're actually encouraged to complain about things that you don't like. And what's funny about it is apparently their actual algorithm cannot actually handle the amount of complaints they're receiving, because they're all from the translator all day long. Actually can't keep up with the amount of complaints they're generating, because they're actually encouraged to complain about each other. And then this week, the Edinburgh Fringe Festival just made a declaration that they come off X and they're now using Blue Sky. And people are mad that we're mad because of this disinformation. Like, no, you're mad because they're not censoring your enemies. That's what it is. Put it on the table. When we were all getting censored, you were celebrating, oh, it's a private company. They can do whatever they want. It's a private company.
Yeah. And Andy, got any more for Mom?
It's just interesting, all that, even on Facebook, what did I put out? Something about being responsible for my feelings, I can't do. And some people find something to twist it round. It's like when you argue with somebody who's drunk, and they're trying to make an argument, they don't even know they're so drunk, they don't even know they're
Yeah.
It's just, it's confusing, because and it's quite powerful, really. But it's kind of, on Facebook, this guy got worn down.
Yeah.
Do you know Thomas Sowell? He's a black guy. He's like a famous American guy. He's an economist. And he said, he talks about this, and he says, well, we're having a discussion with that. We're talking about thought. They don't know what thinking is, and they're telling us their feelings. They're not following a logical argument. I feel this way, so it must be true. But if we're having a discussion with someone, I'm trying to start the thread. Here is my point, and here is what I think. They're like, no, my feelings should override any flicks that you have.
I mean, Larry Elder is like somebody in the same sort of league as that, really. I mean, he has a kind of encyclopedic knowledge of the sort of statistics which are relevant to any situation. He stood, obviously, for Californian governor in the gubernatorial race, and they called him the black face of white supremacy. This is his title, I mean, do you guys feel that?
Him talking, and there's a girl screaming at him at some sort of discussion, and she's like, do you identify as black?
Sure.
I mean, it was 60-year-old black man.
Oh, not only that, there was somebody who came up to him in a gorilla suit as well. I mean, if that had been, a right-winger going up to, I don't know, some other senator in New York or something, they'd have absolutely marmalized them.
When you're the left, supposed to something, if you do not conform to the ideas, they think that being an ethnic minority is like a license that they can take away from you. So I'll be in a discussion with someone, and they'll say, oh, you're not really black. Doing enough crime to make it an authentic.
I'm willing to... I mean, the other thing relating to Andy's comment about Facebook is that's very timely, of course, because Mark Zuckerberg has obviously come round now to a position where, maybe he's forced, maybe he's, he doesn't want to...
Would have been nice if it come sooner.
Absolutely, yeah. He doesn't want to go the way of Bebo, I think, basically, on Friends Reunited, because that's the way that Facebook is maybe going. How cool is Facebook with the generation with the great hair?
I don't really gigs, and that's about it. Actually, that's cool though. Actually,
all right.
Just get and then YouTube really the best. Yeah.
Okay. The final question then is just in terms of how psychologically does this sort of area of inquiry? Obviously, you've got the side of Musk, but also the fact that he's commented upon something in the UK.
Fine, it's fucking good. As the liberals would say, it's a global society, right? We're all in it together. So yeah, you can comment on whatever the fuck you want.
If I may
Yeah,
add something, it was
Yes, it is right.
the irony was quite strong, almost like a Christmas miracle, because suddenly the British lefties had discovered the sanctity of order, which is outside Britain, is outside Great Island. So why does he interfere with British arbitrary and social violence?
Citizen of the world.
So, few lines to this. So, yeah, people not trusting the legacy media. I've always been a skeptic ever since I was young. And there was a moment during the 2016 election cycle, and I was watching one of the Democratic National Convention. And I was watching it in two places. I was watching it on the BBC on television, and I was watching a live stream on Alex Jones' InfoWars. And Hillary Clinton basically got booed during her speech out of the auditorium. And on InfoWars, they showed the full footage. On the BBC, they played such a snap clip to say that she was doing well. I was watching both streams at the same time. And if you were only concerned with legacy media, you're going to say, it's doing great. But if you raw, uninterrupted footage, and that's why they want to keep the legacy media. Like, actually, we need to filter all the information through our lens to make it safe for you to see it. And I'm like, no, you're trying to control my perception. If you just show a live stream and allow me to make my own mind slide, I'm like, no, that's dangerous. You cannot be trusted to have your own thoughts. We need to give them to you.
Well, another example of that. Do you remember the crowd saying "fuck you, Biden"? Like they're saying "let's go, Brandon."
Oh Christ, that's a blast from the past. As "Let's Go, Brandon." Brilliant. Coming up right in his last weekend as well. But yeah, you put your cards totally on the table as being a fan of Alex Jones. This chap here is brilliant piece of chess work, building towards a checkmate with the borderless world. But just in terms of time, are you happy that you've said your say and have through with your little diversion into the mosque?
Yeah, sure, that was fun, man. I wasn't even going to be on. I was going to chill in the corner over there.
All right.
Thank you for having me, man.
So no, you're very, very welcome. Yeah, I mean the smell of musk must be a marvelous one, mustn't it? Really, musk by name. Musk by well, I wasn't trying to say. Well, he knows all about aromas. Does Joe Biden, doesn't he? With the small children there that he's got on hand to sniff. But yeah, I mean, this is perhaps there's. I'm Paul Yoward. I'm a regular. I'm not an irregular, so I won't introduce myself any further. My subject is a kind of like I don't know, a sorbet really, coming back down to the centering and the gentling of my more academic treatment, really, of something similar to what the Luke man has been on about, which is during a reproductive cycle where a female gets fucked more than once and inseminated, then within that reproductive tract, there is, as I've mentioned before, a competition between the sperms going on. Now, what I talked about before was more to do with the kind of masculine aspect of that. And there's a lot of misconceptions in terms of sperm and the sperm wars which go on within a female. Now, one of them is that this is a kind of athletic race between sort of streamlined sperm swimming up, and then everybody's seen this classic picture, haven't they, of the big egg, the human egg, and then there's hundreds, if not thousands, of tadpoles. I mean, in the case of Lily Phillips, obviously quite a few more, maybe, but that isn't how it normally happens unless she's absolutely been saturated with spume within the sort of vestibule. What normally happens actually is that a very, very small number, generally one actually, because the egg wants to at all costs avoid what's called polyspermia. And that means several sperms fertilizing the egg at once. That will tend to void that egg and make it unviable. So the Mojo filter you may have heard of in terms of the blues man here. The Mojo filter is a literal thing. It is a filtering within the female tract, doing this thing which is called cryptic female choice.
I'm trying as.
Absolutely, yeah. So overt female choice, everybody here has done this journey of traversing the female tract up to the egg. We were the successful ones. We got there. We fertilized the egg. We developed within the womb. And then we got ourselves out again, and various ages of development since. But the most important are those hours, really, of getting to the egg and then developing within the womb, etc. So that Mojo filter applies itself like this. It actively transports sperm to the egg, for instance. So it's equivalent of, Luke Man here is probably easily able to do this. A 16 kilometer run, I can do that. But the equivalent in terms of the size of sperm kind of did that. And people may have noticed this when they've had coitus, as they say in the Big Bang Theory is their phrase for it, isn't it? You know, and I am trying to keep it clean here, you know, so none of you spurring around. But I just so let me conclude this. But so the Mojo filter applies. First of all, there's a voiding of sperm during sex, so afterwards, and so the female orgasm is implicated in that. And then there's the active movement of sex of sperm, and there's also sort of caching of sperm within blind ending tubules within the reproductive tract on the way there. And these are all kind of, it's assumed there's some kind of almost like they're carrying a chocolate box, really, of these sperm, because on their surface they have sugars. So there's polysaccharides is a chain of sugars essentially, and these denote quality within the sperm, which is developed actually from the male, because the DNA which is in there within the sperm is not expressed. There's a partial expression, but it's all basically, if you imagine you've got a tape and it's all coiled up on these reels, that's how the DNA is. And it's also haploid as well within a sperm. That means it's only half the DNA. Obviously that joins with the DNA in the egg. So these are all various mechanisms by which a female can bias the outcome of a reproductive incident where there's been more than one male. Say all five of us, you know, have a gangbang with Lily afterwards, which you've scheduled that, yeah, have you? Then the quality of that sperm will be assessed by the female critically. Overt female choice is obviously, maybe she might reject me, you know, that she don't get it. I just get to be a fluffer or something, like many times before. And none of the numerous ones within the backdoor incident. Yeah, is that okay? By the way, but
Want to see it?
one of the reasons I picked this subject anyway is you're getting that nutrition like that again. Is pure protein. You might want to inquire as to where your protein powder comes from, actually. But anyways, one of the reasons why I didn't is that there's quite a dearth of information on the internet in terms of this subject area. It was only derived from a book by a guy called Bill Eberhard in 1985. And so that coincided with my studies, essentially. I was inspired, as I've said before, to study sperm competition in spiders, following a training by the guy who invented the field in Liverpool. So that inspired me, as I say, to then carry on my studies as postgrad.
All this research. How did they research all this? Did they actually what? Oh yeah, do you reckon?
Well, one of the books to recommend actually is Sperm Wars by Robin Baker. in Manchester, actually, they studied a sort of council flat, essentially. And what they found was what's called a putative father. So that's the guy who you think is your dad, yeah? And, you think he's a biological dad, essentially. In the case of this council flats in Manchester, that was a very small proportion of the actual fathers when they did DNA fingerprinting. It's something like 23%. So that isn't that the women are what's called an extra pair copulation, i.e. being cooked. It isn't that they're engaging in that to, whatever that is, 70-odd%, It's that when they are fertile, in that period, they're much more likely, you go to a nightclub, the women who are showing more flesh are more likely to put out. In that fertile period, that's when they're more likely to engage with some guy who's got a higher status, maybe. Or find somebody else, and they're much more likely, despite them maybe only having a gig, one night stand with the woman, they're much more likely to father her progeny, and then this other guy is effectively cooked. So that's one of the ways in which So you thought, but yeah. So I don't know if that's grossed you out sufficiently, or
Something I've actually thought about this before. And
Of course you have.
this is what my mind is just gross.
yeah.
I've actually got it reminds me of Star Wars, the Phantom Menace and the pod races. And I always imagine it like that they're all fighting in the pod races.
Uh-huh. Oh, it's CX fighters going down the RX. Yeah. Uh-huh.
I know we've talked about all different sperm characters, like loads of the same type of character. Like this is your fat one if it gets through. Here's your schizophrenic son.
Mm. Yeah.
This one's gay. This one's a lesbian.
Nothing.
It's all saying,
But
it's you saying this.
Yeah. But the really insane thing is that you're not a million miles away from the considerations that Robin Baker and his team, he did like two strands to his thing. He did Human Sperm Competition, which is an academic book, which I've read. And he also did like a popular book, which is called Sperm Wars. And in those Sperm Wars, what he's basically saying is that there's egg getter sperm, yeah, but there's also like kamikaze sperm. And those ones, basically, they often gel together with their heads. With the acrosome, it basically explodes and they join together and they form, like in American football, the blockers. And he's surprisingly, I don't want to say tight, is the reproductive tract. You think it's like, sort of, but when it all seals back up again, basically you've got sort of tubules that the sperm go through that are very narrow. So they are able to block, like a plug,
But with the sperm race thing, I always imagine they're doing the Star Wars sperm race thing, and then they find out they're in an arsehole.
But that's more an overt female choice, that she's presenting a different side of the perineum. But there is animals that, in terms of burrowing through, and this is a field of study, and it's one of the ways in which I've thought of BoloXology, actually, is like, why psychologically are we interested in a thing? Because there's a researcher in Scandinavia, and he looked quite extensively at sort of damage within the female tract that a lot of insects inflict. So instead of like going through the complicated tubules and etc. down the reproductive tract, they actually damage, and they use like acid effectively, almost like the alien, into the sides of the wall, and the sperm are then liberated and free to go directly to the eggs. So there's all kinds of, intricate strategies like that, getting into the next generation is such a super important thing in evolution, that literally a Swiss Army knife of adaptations has been used on the penis of, say, things like a damselfly. They snip and they sort of scrape out of the male sperm, and females can facilitate this by the sort of orientation that they permit during copulation. Some things I haven't spoke about, which is basically the copulatory courtship, is one way in which a male may be favored. This is, again, there's evidence from Phil Eberhard's work. So basically, the performance that a male puts in the fucking, that will be more likely that he achieves the end game of fertilization.
It's a good question. So all these scientists and researchers that put all their time into this, do you reckon they were just trying to get laid, and this was like
just sort of along the way? I mean, you could say that about everything, though, couldn't you? Really?
that is why?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you look at artists. Essentially, why are a lot of them gay? In that, that's how they can. Eh? I'm not looking at you, Andy. Although you are very spasticus artisticus, aren't you? But
This thing like so just the derivative from the norm. So, the social norm of being heterosexual, whereas people who are more just a derivative, they're more likely to make art. So, like, sort of Milo Yiannopoulos talk about this, and it was just like, if you are a derivative from the norm, thoughts might just not be how this person is thinking, and that'll take you to other places. It's like, David Bowie says he wasn't gay, but he was fucking dudes for years, and I was like, it's weird, because in my mind, David Bowie's
yeah.
They used to fucking trigger regularly.
He did confuse a few people, didn't he, when he sort of came through that androgyny, like,
And so some of that was like character and theatrical. I grew up listening to Marilyn Manson and stuff, and his aesthetic was very weird, and even the stuff he would do off stage, I knew that was also part of the persona of that nature. And then now the stuff that I'm against from people are doing on social media, I'm like, you're actually doing this in your real life and want me to take us seriously. It's like, you look Marilyn Manson. I said, yeah, he was doing a piece of art. You're telling me to take you seriously when you're being a Mongol?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm basically saying, that in the mating game, perhaps if you're more outlandish, then that may work for you much more in a sort of in a homosexual environment, because a lot of women are going to say, "Oh, that's a bit weird. Maybe this isn't a settled downable guy. He's just a gig guy." Like as you say, Lou Reed, I think, was one of the partners of David Bowie as well over there in Berlin, wasn't it? So they're obviously kindred spirits who are sharing.
Definitely. Was also supposed to have had a sexual affair with Marlon Brando. That is so weird to me. Like Don Corleone pounding Richard Pryor, and two of my influences just like that. The band was like,
Richard Pryor pounding Brando.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well,
I read Richard Pryor's autobiography, and he talks about the first time he had sex with a guy. He said he was out of the nightclub and he was smoking crack, and then it was the most beautiful woman he'd ever seen. And they got back to his hotel room, and they took off, and they took off his dress, and he realized it was a guy. And he said, he saw he had a dick, and he said, I was fuck it.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of pounding, though, I don't know if anybody's seen Last Tango in Paris, but he found a different alternative use for a pound of butter in that, didn't he? So he's like, I mean, that was a woman as it happened, but he was going via the alternative orifice, which is going to be exploited to the max, apparently, by Lily Phillips. And just in terms of pressure of time, then, all of us have got busting bladders, and so, oh yeah, old prostate there, just holding up like a fucking piece of tin, isn't it? Fantastic. So in terms of pressure of time, I've answered my sort of question in terms of myself as to why psychologically this is a field of study which I've investigated. And I guess what I would say is that, it is an interest which was built on an academic background, perhaps channeled through an interest in evolution. And the name of the game in evolution, as I said before, is to get into the next generation. And so the various crafty and different sort of means of doing that is a way that, is the subject of numerous natural histories throughout different lineages of animals, including ourselves. So, as ever, when we conclude BoloXology, we draw upon the closure of the session to be from Andy Zapp, please.
What was I supposed to say? I forget. What did we say at the end? We just like, and thank you very much for listening. It's been great.
That's BoloXology. Good night.
BoloXology.
BoloXology.